about to talk to you about Arjuna's sacred duty, and this is all about ruthlessness in the art of Dharma and war. You see, in the great Indian epic Mahabharata, the warrior prince Arjuna is portrayed as a hero of exceptional skill, deep introspection, and spiritual significance. Yet his greatness is not solely due to his valor on the battlefield. Arjuna's true transformation occurs when he confronts the conflicting forces within himself, his compassion and his moral hesitations, against the higher principle of duty, or Dharma. Through his spiritual teacher and divine charioteer, Lord Krishna, Arjuna learns one of the most difficult lessons in the Bhagavad Gita, that in the art of warfare and leadership, sometimes one must embrace ruthlessness, not out of cruelty or ego, but because duty transcends personal emotions and attachments. This video is going to explore how Arjuna was shaped by the teachings of Krishna to fulfill his role, not according to his own personal desires or moral uncertainties, but according to the cosmic order that demanded his unwavering resolve that he had to do what was right, what was necessary, even if his own ethics conflicted with that. Let's talk about Arjuna's moral crisis on the battlefield. At the outset of the Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna finds himself paralyzed with sorrow and inner turmoil. Facing an army that includes his cousins, teachers, and revered elders, he drops his bow and refuses to fight. He's overwhelmed with karuna, which is compassion, and sees the coming war as a fratricidal massacre that will destroy the very foundations of what he perceives to be Dharma. I see no good in killing my kinsmen in battle. I do not desire victory, O Krishna, nor kingdom, nor pleasures. Bhagavad Gita 1:31. This moment is crucial. Arjuna represents the ideal moral man. He's so noble in heart and unwilling to cause unnecessary suffering. But in so doing, he's blinded by emotion, unable to see the larger picture. His crisis highlights deep philosophical truth in Hinduism. Even righteous intentions can lead to adharma, which is unrighteousness, when they ignore one's spiritual responsibility. This is why Krishna had to intervene, and this is how he chose to awaken the Dharma in Arjuna. Krishna does not scold Arjuna for his feelings, but he reorients his vision towards a higher truth. Krishna teaches Arjuna that his role as a kshatriya, a warrior, demands that he uphold justice even if it comes at a personal cost. You grieve for those who should not be grieved for, and yet speak words of wisdom. The wise grieve neither for the living nor the dead. Bhagavad Gita 2:11. Krishna instructs Arjuna on the immorality of the soul, the illusion of death, and the necessity of performing one's duty without attachment to outcomes. This teaching is central to Hindu philosophy. Action, karma, must be performed in accordance with Dharma, without concern for the fruits, which is phala. Arjuna is to become a weapon of divine justice, not a man ruled by sentiment. Therefore, there is a necessity of ruthlessness in war. While ruthlessness often has a negative connotation in the context of Arjuna's duty, it is a form of spiritual discipline. Ruthlessness here means the unwavering execution of one's role without succumbing to emotional paralysis. Krishna's advice strips war of its personal entanglements. Arjuna is told to view his actions not as a personal vendetta, but as the mechanism through which Dharma is preserved. The enemies he must kill are not merely relatives. They are, in fact, embodiments of adharma, greed, treachery, and the corrosion of righteousness. Simply because they were his kinspeople didn't make them right. This principle reflects in Krishna's famous line, "Slay them, Arjuna. They are already dead by my will. Be thou merely the instrument." Bhagavad Gita 11:33. This message was radical. Krishna urges Arjuna to embody a divine ruthlessness. The war is not about Arjuna's emotions, but about restoring cosmic order. In this sense, he has to transcend the ego. His personal feelings are far from being supreme. A fundamental lesson Arjuna learns here is the insignificance of personal desire and emotion in the face of divine duty. From a Hindu standpoint, ahamkara, ego, and moha, delusion attachment, must be transcended if one is to attain moksha, which is the true liberation. Arjuna's feelings are valid, but they do not control in the ultimate scheme of things. They are residues of human limitation. It's almost like This is a utilitarian philosophy. Krishna urges Arjuna to take refuge in the higher self, which is the Atman, and in him, Krishna, as a supreme being, which is the Brahman. Fix your mind on me alone. Rest your thoughts on me. In me alone you shall live hereafter. Bhagavad Gita 12:8. By detaching from his emotions and desires, Arjuna rises from an emotionally conflicted prince to a spiritually awakened warrior. Arjuna becomes what the world needs of him. Krishna transforms Arjuna into what the world needs, a righteous executor of justice. The world did not need Arjuna, the pacifist. It needed Arjuna, the destroyer of tyranny. In Hindu cosmology, the preservation of balance involves destruction when necessary, as exemplified in the trinity of Brahma, the creator, Vishnu, the preserver, and Shiva, the destroyer. Arjuna channels Shiva's force, not with rage, but with sacred detachment. This is not rage for the sake of rage, this is righteous duty. The Kauravas had become a cancer upon Dharma. Their greed, their abuse of power, and their unwillingness to make peace rendered them unfit to rule. Arjuna's kindness, if allowed to paralyze him, would allow greater suffering to unfold in the realm. Krishna makes it clear, to preserve harmony, sometimes one must act decisively and without hesitation. Dharma over personal ethics. This is a crucial lesson. In the West, ethical frameworks often revolve around the intention and consequences. In Hinduism, Dharma is supreme. Dharma is context sensitive. It changes based on one's caste, life stage, and circumstances. Arjuna's Dharma as a warrior is to protect righteousness, not to mourn familial ties in the face of moral collapse. Kindness, when misplaced, becomes a form of indulgence. Nobility, when untethered from cosmic principles, becomes ego masquerading as virtue. Thus, Hinduism teaches that right action may involve difficult choices. Detachment from outcome is essential to spiritual maturity. The preservation of Dharma sometimes requires a commitment to violence. This is not to glorify war, but to recognize that neutrality and sentimentality in the face of injustice will itself be ad harma. In other words, he cannot just sit idly by, and he cannot refuse to undertake his duty. He must fulfill it. Though born in the battlefield, Arjuna's lessons are applicable beyond war. Many people face situations where their own emotions conflict with what must be done, right? The Gita warns us or urges us to act with clarity, purpose, and detachment. A judge must rule justly, even if the accused is someone that you would seem sympathetic to. It doesn't matter. The law must be carried out. A leader must make hard decisions for the greater good, even when it involves going against one's allies. A parent must discipline their child out of love, not indulgence. Arjuna's transformation is a call to all of humanity to rise above personal confusion and serve the greater truth, even when the path is painful. There are spiritual implications. One needs to align with divine will. Arjuna's journey also represents a deeper spiritual process. The human soul, when clouded by emotion and fear, forgets its own divine origin and its own divine purpose. Krishna reawakens Arjuna's jnana, which is knowledge, and bhakti, which is devotion, so that he will serve not as a man, but as a vessel of God's divine will. In this way, Arjuna's ruthlessness is not born from hatred, but from devotion. It is a sacred fury, not against people, but not against ignorance, but injustice and corruption. When one aligns with Ishvara's, God's will, even acts of destruction become holy. The legacy of Arjuna's awakening comes next. He stands as a model not because he felt conflicted, but because he overcame that conflict. His journey teaches 1. That duty is sacred, 2. That emotions are transient, the soul is eternal, 3. That the warriors of light must sometimes draw their swords, 4. That the world needs courageous action, not passive morality, 5. That true kindness lies in fulfilling your divine role. Krishna did not turn Arjuna into a murderer. He turned him into a liberator. The battlefield of Kurukshetra became a field of transformation, not just for Arjuna, but for all seekers who struggle between heart and responsibility. In conclusion, Arjuna's internal struggle in the Bhagavad Gita is the very struggle of the soul. To choose the higher path over comfort, to execute difficult duties without ego, and to become what the world needs, not what feels good, in embracing ruthlessness under divine guidance. Arjuna did not abandon morality. He fulfilled a higher divine sense of morality. He became the guardian of Dharma, the sword of justice, and the disciple who acted not for himself, but for the cosmos. His lesson remains eternally relevant. In times of great turmoil, emotional hesitation can cause greater harm than necessary action. When guided by wisdom, love for the truth, and detachment from selfishness, ruthlessness can become an act of compassion. The world may not always need your tears, but it most certainly will need your courage to do what must be done, even when you don't have the heart to do it. It is the way that things must be. And if I don't see you, just remember, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. Please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.